Not even death can keep us apart must have been Carl Tanzler's mantra. Because, baby, he took his obsession with Maria Elena Milagro de Hoyos, I'm not sure if I pronounced that name correct, to a whole other level. Now, Carl was born in Dresden, Germany on February 8, 1977. He was a man that went by many names. Georg Karl Tänzler on his German marriage certificate, look here, I'm not sure if I can pronounce all of them names, but I'm going to try. The second one is Carl Tanzler von Cosel on his United States citizenship papers, Count Carl Tanzler von Cosel on his hospital records, and finally, Carl Tanzler on his death certificate. I am more likely to believe that one since it was on his death certificate, but whatever. When he was a child, he said he received a vision from one of his dead relatives who showed him what the love of his life would look like, a dark-haired exotic beauty. And from then on, he would dream about her. Now, during World War I, he was imprisoned by the British Army, and sometime afterwards, he went back to Germany where he got married to Doris Schaefer in 1920. He had 2 children with her, one of whom died of diphtheria. Now, in 1926, 6 years after his marriage, he sailed from Rotterdam to Havana, Cuba, and then to Florida. His wife and daughters came over from Germany soon after, but in 1927 he left his family again and relocated to Key West, Florida, where he landed a job as a radiology technician in the U.S. Marine Hospital. Enters Maria Elena de Hoyos. Sometime in April 1930, 3 years after Carl started working at the hospital, Maria was admitted by her mother for examination. And when Carl saw her, he found her to be the literal woman of his dreams, since her features apparently matched the visions he had as a child. Now, I'm going to start calling her Elena because apparently that's what most people call her, Elena or Helen, based on my research. So Elena was known as a beauty in her hometown. She had 2 sisters, one of whom died from tuberculosis. Maria married Luis Mesa in 1926, but after her miscarriage, he left her, but they were still technically married. Now, after being admitted to the hospital, 21-year-old Maria was diagnosed with tuberculosis, which at that time was a deadly disease. And though Carl wasn't a doctor, he was determined to save her. He tried a concoction of different medications and even moved X-ray machines and electrical equipment into Maria's home. Other people said in his home, so he moved them into a home. Though he bought her many gifts and confessed his love to her, it is said that it was unrequited. Unfortunately, on October 25, 1931, Maria died in Key West, and this is where it turned weird. He convinced the family to let him pay for her funeral and construct a mausoleum for her. Weird enough, he was the only one with the key to the mausoleum. At this point, you should be able to guess where this is going. Every night for 2 years, he would sneak into the mausoleum to visit her. During that time, he would use formaldehyde to try and preserve her for a bit longer. He would often sing her favorite Spanish song to her corpse. He claimed that Elena asked him on numerous occasions to take her away from the grave. So, one night in April 1933, he placed her body in a toy wagon and carted her off to his home. But it's been 2 years since her death, so despite using formaldehyde to preserve her body, it would obviously and understandably still be going through some decomposition. But Carl couldn't let that happen, so he got creative. He used piano wire to hold her bones together. He used silk cloth dipped in wax and plaster to replace her disintegrating skin, preservatives and perfume to hide the stench, though I don't see how perfume is going to hide the stench of decomposing flesh. Well, 2 years old decomposing flesh when it can't even cover the scent of a stinky armpit. But go off, Carl. He also used disinfectant to cover the scent. So I imagine that Carl's house smells like bleach, perfume, and rotten flesh. He replaced her eyes with glass eyes. He made a wig from her hair, and when her body began collapsing, he stuffed her with rags to keep her original form. He dressed her in gloves, jewelry, and stockings. And guess where he kept her body? In his bed. In his bed. He kept her dead body in his bed. So I bet at this point you think that it can't get any weirder, but come on, we're talking about Carl here. So of course it can. He was actually working on refitting an aircraft in which he would take her to space in hopes that this would bring her back to life. Carl's head is really in the clouds. In October of 1940, Florinda, Maria's sister, started hearing some rumors going around that Carl was sleeping with his sister's dead body in his house. How did this rumor start, you ask? Well, apparently someone saw him dancing with her corpse in front of a window. So the sister went to his house and found the rumors to be true. Of course, she notified the police and Carl was arrested. Interestingly enough, he was examined by a psychiatrist who found him mentally competent to stand trial. He was eventually charged with wantonly and maliciously destroying a grave and removing a body without authorization. However, because the statute of limitations had expired, charges were dropped and he was released. Now that is unfortunate. Even after her body was already so cruelly violated, they decided to take it even further and place it on display at a funeral home. Approximately 6,800 people came to view it. God only knows why. Apparently, these people were infected with an extreme case of morbid curiosity, which seemed to have been common during this time. Now, this is not the first time in history where dead bodies were put on display for public viewing. These people are crazy. For some reason, there were actually people who thought that what he did was romantic. Oh my gosh, he's just an eccentric romantic. Yeah. They felt for him. Yeah. In 1972, supposed evidence of necrophilia surfaced in the form of a tube that they said Carl had inserted into her nether regions to you know what. However, other people say that they don't believe that this is true since that was not noted in the earlier autopsy that was done in 1942. Now, for the remainder of Carl's life, he still confessed his love for Elena, even though he returned to live with his wife. So he returned to his wife. She took him back. I don't know why she accepted him. Like, did she not believe? I don't know why she accepted him, but whatever. Thankfully, Elena's body was eventually returned to Key West Cemetery, where it was buried in an unmarked grave to prevent Carl from coming back to retrieve it. That's the story of Carl Tanzler and his corpse bride. Tell me what you think about it in the comments. Do you think he's crazy, or do you believe that he's just an eccentric romantic? Yeah, let me know. Thanks for watching. See you next time. If you enjoyed the video, hit like, leave a comment, share with your friends, and subscribe. Bye.